morning, everybody. Welcome to the 87th annual Double Electric meeting and picnic. We're glad to have everybody here. We're going to do a little thing to see how well we follow directions. I'm going to have everybody stand up. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will do the invocation for dinner. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you could stay standing and bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the little things in life that we tend to take for granted. We thank you for the opportunity to gather here today. We ask that you enlighten our minds as we share information and learn from each other today. We ask that you bless the meal we will enjoy at the conclusion of this meeting. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, I would like to introduce the Board of Directors. From Huron County, in District 1, we have Randy Dice. District 2 is Craig Osentowski. District 3 is Erica Weedman. From Sanilac County, District 1, infamous Kim Nunn. District 2 is Mike Brolick. Tuscola County, District 1 is Louis Wenslow. District 2 is myself, John Finley. And District 3 is Matt Summer. The TEC attorney is Kyle O'Mara. And the general manager is Brad Essenmacher. At this time, I would like to recognize 2 employees that retired since last year's meeting. Jeff Swick, a lineman out of the Carroll facility, retired after a 17-year employment. And Carrie Penland, who came over in the Air Advantage acquisition, was with Air Advantage for several years and with Thumb Electric for 1. So both of them retired, and thank you for your service. I would like to recognize the efforts of TEC's employees. While all the employees' roles may not be the same, everyone does their part to contribute to the overall success of the co-op. Thank you to all employees for your dedication and commitment to the co-op's making safe priority. I am proud to share that TEC's last lost time incident occurred in October of 2018. Great job, everyone, and keep this streak going. All TEC employees are the foundation, keeping the future of the co-op and internet business moving in a positive direction. Please join me in a round of applause for all the employees of this organization. Thank you. And now I would like to call the 2025 87th annual meeting to order. Official notice of this meeting was published on page 13 of the May-June 2025 edition of Country Lines magazine. We will dispense the reading of last year's minutes as they were printed on page 16 of the May-June 2025 edition of Country Lines magazine, which is mailed to every member. Unless there are any questions, a motion for approval is in order. Do we have a motion? Do we have support? We have motion and support to accept the 2024 86th annual meeting minutes as written. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The Treasurer's Report, also published on page 17 in the May-June edition of Country Lines, were the year-end financial comparisons for 2023 and 2024. I would like to share some finalized 2024 financials in my President's Report, which I will present now. TEC's total plant, with both the electric and fiber, included increase just over $34 million from 23 to 24. Those expenditures in capital improvements were due in large part to TEC fiber build-out, but also included some rebuilding identified circuits of aging poles and wires, upgrading substation equipment, building new electrical service, upgrading existing electrical service, purchase of trucks and vehicles, office equipment, and other investments that improve our efficiency and enhance our overall system. TEC and TEC Fiber's combined operating statement showed revenues of $38.6 million and expenses of $32.2 million. These expenses are the cost to maintain and operate the electric and fiber optic system. The resulting operating margin for 2023 was just over $1.7 million. Adding in some non-operating interest, non-operating margin, and other capital credits received by the cooperative, the 2024 patronage allocated back to TEC members looks to be $2.9 million pending board approval. Members were allocated just over 7.5 cents for every dollar paid in 2024. This is the great thing about being a member of the co-op. These margins are returned back to the members. The cooperative uses some members' patronage over time to make capital improvements. It isn't expected that general retirements will be issued this year due to low equity with ongoing fiber construction. Once construction winds down, equity is projected to rise and retirements would then continue. Since patronage payments began, TEC has paid back over $13.8 million to its members. In 2024, TEC paid $2.1 million in property taxes to schools and other government agencies in Huron, Sanilac, and Tuscola County. On the fiber, things are going very well on the TEC fiber infrastructure build-out. We currently have over 4,070 active TEC fiber accounts, 1,300 Air Advantage fiber accounts, and still 2,000 wireless internet subscribers. All TEC members have service available to them right now, except those in O'Connell and Waterton substation areas. Those are expected to have service available by mid-summer. Stay tuned. One of the things I thought was interesting in looking at this is 5 years ago is when the COVID pandemic started. I don't know how many here had internet or didn't have internet, but by July or August, every TEC member will have high-speed internet to their house if they choose to subscribe to it. So that's a huge thing, I think, in our area. In summary, your electric co-op remains financially stable and continues to meet all required loan covenants. Things were very busy in 2024, and we expect the same for the next couple of years as we make high-speed internet available to our non-member RDOF grant communities, commitments projected to finish at the end of 2026. At this time, I would like to turn things over to General Manager Brad Essemacher to provide his update and elaborate on a few items I touched on and answer any questions you may have.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hello and welcome to the 2025 Cooperative Annual Meeting number 87. All but 1 year, the COVID year John just mentioned, so it's an 88-year history of an electric cooperative. And just for the benefit of those who may not know, most of you probably do, TEC was founded in 1937 with the mission of bringing electricity to the rural areas. Investor-owned utilities had no interest in it. They didn't see the financial benefit to do it. So many people like yourselves took it upon themselves, went to Washington, secured a loan, and built themselves an electrical system. So fast forward to 2021, it's much the same message. Investor-owned internet companies really had no interest in bringing a wired type service to the rural areas. They don't see the financial benefit of it. But all of you, or not all of you, but many of you want that. It helps if you have a work from home type job, if your kids have to school from home for whatever reason. It brings other benefits, streaming services where you can cut the cable company or your dish in a lot of cases. So for the last 4 years, we have been plugging away in that arena, and like President Finley had said, it'll be complete to all members midsummer here. So, and then to reinforce John's message, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of our employees. It's been a very extremely busy 4 years. We've integrated 2 companies. That's a difficult thing to do, and as roles change and the responsibilities change, positions are added out of necessity to run an internet company and to provide, you know, it's more accounting, it's more poles, wires, linemen to work on fiber infrastructure that's built in that energized zone. All of that. Change is difficult, but we're managing it very, very well. I would like to also congratulate Jeff Swick and Carrie Pendelin on successful careers they have recently moved on to retirement. And just want to say, without all of our dedicated employees, it really would be impossible to provide the service that we do to this community. So thank you to our employees. President Finley gave a brief financial overview of a successful 2024 financial year, successful margins. I'd like to share some of what went into that successful year. Each and every year I'm going to discuss three things. I think they're the most important things in the energy business, the internet business as well. Safety, always number one. Reliability and affordability. Safety, it is the number one job in any industry, let alone the electric industry, the internet industry. Whether it's protecting the general public or internally, we take it equally as seriously. As an example, over the years, we've put on many hotline demos for schools, fire departments, road commissions, you name it, farm organizations, construction organizations. Maybe you've seen one, maybe you haven't. So I just want to let you know that there will be two put on today, one at 12:15, one at 1 o'clock, and it's going to be right over here where you'll see a trailer set up with what looks like electrical wires and equipment that you'll see going down the road. So if you've never seen one before, or if you want to see one again, twice today, 12:15, 1 o'clock, a hotline demo. So what they do is they show you what electricity can do for you and do to you. So it's very safety oriented. It's going to show some of the safety equipment, what it's designed to do, how it's designed to kick out. If you see blinks in your house sometimes, could that be a tree or something touching that line? And so what's called an OCR will interrupt the power without completely blowing a fuse and leaving you in the dark. If it's just a brief connection, it will reset itself automatically. So it's a pretty impressive display. So if you can make one of those, I would recommend it. So why are we doing the hotline demo this year? Again, this goes to safety. For years and years and years, we've done bucket truck rides. It isn't the first time it's happened, but last year in the industry, not in this state, there was a similar event like to this. They were given bucket truck rides. The bucket truck failed, and one person was killed and the other one seriously injured. The board took a very hard look at that, what our responsibilities are to the membership for the liability that they could hold in such an accident, and to all of them and us, all of us together, what kind of risk we would want to take in that. And we just didn't feel it was really worth it for membership exposure, for board exposure, for all of us, employee exposure. And how do you do that safely? I think the safest way to do that is just not to do it. So if you see a little bit, or if it's a disappointment to you, we apologize, but we feel it's in the best interest of everyone. So that's why we're bringing in the hotline demo, so enjoy that. Like President Finley said, we have not had a lost time injury since 2011, thanks to the employees. There's a little bit of luck involved, obviously, but we pride ourselves on getting the lights back on as quickly as we can, but it has to be done in a safe manner. There's procedures, there's protocols, there's gear, personal protective equipment, fire retardant clothing that the linemen have to wear. All of that goes into making it a lot safer for them, therefore, keeping them safe and secure as workers. But also on the safety end of things, that there's software out there on the internet side that that protects from online threats. Subscriptions that we would, when you sign up with us, there's parental controls, there's firewall protections built in and other services. So it's not just a physical threat, but a virtual threat in those cases. So we strive in the internet part to keep you, safe from that sort of harm. As always, though, please use caution when driving and using farm equipment and that sort of thing. We do still see enough pole damage and that sort of thing, and we don't want anybody to get hurt. It's bad enough fixing a pole and inconveniencing, whoever would be knocked out in that circuit. That's fine. But we don't want anybody to get hurt. It does happen, and so just be conscious of it and look up. That I would really appreciate that. If you see something that's a little low on fiber lines and you don't think maybe it's quite high, also let us know. We try to get the message out to our farm community. Equipment's very big these days. We try to meet all the codes of the heights and that we need, but we would rather raise it when it makes sense than raise it after somebody's gone through it or hit it or whatever. So again, please look up if it's an electric line or a fiber type line. We would appreciate that. Reliability. A lot of factors go into reliability. Lines, poles need to be cleared of obstructions, trees, other vegetation, that sort of thing. They need to be tested for any hazards or failure of equipment. That all goes into reliability. Substations, transformer lines, feeding substations, all that needs to be maintained for that reliability. We're looking at sub-upgrades. We've done some relay type work at certain stations, so we are doing that. Similar to that on the broadband side, the infrastructure is vulnerable. The right line gets cut or the right path, it could be in between Flint and Saginaw, something could get cut, and bang, everybody would be out of service. The goal is, and we do have certain redundancies built in to reroute that, hopefully at the blink of a few seconds that you wouldn't even notice it. So reliability on the internet side is built in too. Outside of those areas, I believe we have a path right now that goes to Southfield. We have a backup path that goes to Grand Rapids, and we might possibly add in more and more paths later. But we also have them locally as well. We work around Vassar and Frankenmuth and Carroll, and eventually we'll go around Ubley and through Kindy and on to further south. So we have all kinds of different redundancies built in again with reliability. Lastly, really generation is our first source to meet our energy and capacity needs. As you probably know, we've recently joined a Wolverine Power Cooperative, in large part of the generation assets that they and we now own as part of that and are contracted to receive output from. And for the most part, it's real baseload generation. I'll talk about Palisades here in a minute, that will be coming on. And Eric Baker, the CEO of Wolverine, will be introducing himself to you a little later this morning. So for that, a couple of quick statistics. We had about 6 miles of overhead and underground distribution built in the last year, some out of the Carroll area, in the Columbia substation, a little bit over in western Huron County. We have a 4-mile rebuild between Vassar and Columbia at the end there that came with a 50% matching grant originated at the Department of Energy, but it was fostered through the state of Michigan. Several miles of trimmed trees and vegetation. We replaced relay equipment, like I said, at our urban switch station. Pole testing, we tested a little over 2,800 distribution poles last year, and close to another 300 transmission poles. With that, so far, or during last year, we replaced 300 of those or more as a result of those testings. In the Watertown substation, which is southeastern area of our territory, Croswell, Lexington, Port Sanilac, and those areas, We've replaced every OCR and regulator in those substations. That equipment has a lifespan, like anything, and so we're really trying to keep up on the maintenance and keeping that equipment good for reliability. Currently, we're working with a vegetation specialist on how to more efficiently clear lines and keep them free of hazards. The key to vegetation management is a 5-year schedule. That's kind of the life cycle of the average tree before you trim it back X amount of feet and it grows back into the So if you can do it on that 5-year schedule, you can do it much easier. It's not a logging operation, it becomes just maintenance, true maintenance, where you're just trimming back and doing it then. So we're working with a company. If you see a truck going around or more that says ACRT on it, that's our tree trimming or our tree specialist that's kind of assisting us in doing it. So reliability, obviously the sister of that is affordability. There's certainly been an adjustment in 2025, as I'm sure many of you looked at your energy bills. So what happened in 2025? New energy legislation kicked in. We are now required to get 15% of our energy in the form of actual output from renewable sources. In years past, we could buy what they call a REC. A REC had a fairly cheap value to it. Under $100,000, we could buy RECs and meet the needs of the co-op. Buying renewable resources, we're estimating in the $3 million to $3.5 million is what it's going to cost to comply with state law. So that's really what led to that. Although market conditions have changed, we had a very good power supply contract 6 or 7 years ago when my predecessor signed that contract. It was a very good deal. Unfortunately, it did not include any output from renewable resources, which is where we found ourselves having to comply with state law. So what kind of set us on this path? In 2023, to back up a couple of years, we knew those contracts were coming due. So as part of reliability, the Michigan Public Service Commission requires us to show them 4 years of energy and capacity proof. They want to make sure ratepayers, members in our case, are not literally left in the dark. So it's our task to have that capacity and energy secured 4 years or more out. So as part of that process, we began to looking, how to secure that. And when we first started that process, the new market realities were really setting in and what that looked like. And they were not the favorable contract that we have had, but they were market conditions. Most entities in the state are paying that market condition. We just had not caught up yet. Could have slow rolled to our 2028 contract, but again, Michigan energy law sort of precluded us from doing that. So part of that process, we began not only discussions with our then current supplier, but with others, and including Wolverine Power Cooperative. Well, in the midst of that process, Palisades became public knowledge. So what was going on at Palisades? Well, recommissioning a nuclear facility, never been done anywhere on this entire planet in the world. It has never been done. But the company that had owned it, it was not decommissioned as of yet. It was just shuttered or shut down at the time. And they know that energy is becoming a very in-demand resource in this world. And they just had the idea. Very, very smart people over there, the owner of that organization, very smart man. What if? Could we recommission that? Could we turn that back on and make it a useful asset again? It was a bold idea. They are going to successfully pull that off this fall. That will become part of our portfolio in our energy. Very good cost. Not a new facility that's being built at whatever it would cost to build that in today's dollars. And it not only meets our compliance for today at 15%, But in 2030, that becomes 50%. I believe it's 60 to 80 in 2035, and if state law holds, we'll see, 2024 is 100% renewable. Now, nuclear is not technically renewable, but it does meet the definition in Michigan law, specifically carved out for this facility, to comply. So again, it politically, both sides of the aisle are on board with this. Across administrations, the Biden administration was on board with it, the Trump administration is on board with it. So it has all kinds of agreement in this world that this is a good thing. You know, not everybody's going to agree with everything, but politically across aisles, it met that, and it continues to meet that. So that's the energy side with the affordability. So we still strive to keep things affordable. We're looking at things on the back end to save costs. You know, our in-house generation in 2040, if state law holds, it becomes inoperable. We cannot run it because it's not renewable. So there's different things. We're going to look at a business case to see if it makes sense in any way, shape, or form. But I think spending members' money on an asset that may just get legislated right out of existence doesn't seem to make sense. But we're gonna take a hard look at it and see what does make sense. With energy, as always, the more to come. If there's one thing consistent, is inconsistency in energy. But we feel like we're really well positioned for the future. We've got representation now. The Wolverine Co-op is a co-op, like we're a co-op. We are their members. They work on our behalf for us to work on your behalf. We have 2 board members, Kim Nunn and Craig Ozentoski, seated on the Wolverine board. We have a say in our energy, not just profiting another company. It was great contract, great way we did it for probably 50, 60 years now as we've been buying energy instead of generating it. But I feel that the cooperatives working with cooperatives is going to work out very well for Thumb Electric. Broadband and internet. So I'm just going to sort of add a little bit of statistics and reinforce some of the statistics that John had discussed earlier. So TEC fiber is close to 1,500 miles of fiber placed since the start of the project. About 1125 of aerial, about 360 feet of underground to date. Again, all members are active now, except for the Octagon and Watertown areas. Again, southeast area down over on the lake shore, Old Deckerville, and again in that area. But a month or two, and everyone will have it available too. The non-member area goal to have completed our RDOF requirement, our Robin requirement. So those are 2 grants that we received. We're hoping for the end of 2026. So all of our commitments at that point would be taken care of. We are looking at some other grant funds, a B grant, broadband. I can't remember exactly what the acronym stands for, but we have applied for some additional funding in that program. So yeah, TEC Fiber just passed 4,070 subscribers. Normally day to day we have a couple hundred or so pending accounts that are in some sort of stage between initial sign up and having actual service. And then normally probably 20 to 50 on an ongoing basis that are actually scheduled for install, which means everything's been completed. The drop, which is the last step to get from our system to your house, is completed. Everything's spliced. It's just a matter of installing the equipment in your home. So usually about 25 to 50 people in that. And about another 140 VoIP customers, voice over internet protocol. So it's just a fairly reasonable service. I think we charge 30 or 35 bucks for unlimited minutes and tax, title, and the whole 9 yards, I guess, as they say, for phone service. It can replace your phone service. Some people at their house have kind of poor cell phone service, so they still like to have a landline type phone available to them. So we have about 140 of those accounts. Air Advantage, over 1,300 of fiber subscribers. Many of their subscribers not only include a residential type of service, but a business, several businesses. We have several businesses, hospitals, libraries, entities that might have, I don't know, 20 might be stretching, but 12 to 15 locations, and they want each one of them, covered and interconnected. So they really specialize in that area. I believe they own or maintain about 600 miles of fiber of their own. So of our own. Let me correct myself. Sometimes it's not them, it's us. So one thing I do want to note: TEC fiber offers two packages: a half a gig or 500 megabits, up from 250 megabits. We recently did that, zero cost increase. We just upped the subscriber fees. So if you're used to a 10 and 2 type wireless system or in that neighborhood, this is 500 and 500. So that's like an $85 package. And then for a full gig, which is 1,000 megabits, again, symmetrical service, $125 for that. We do have a lot of people that take that service. And then we're sort of having early talks of the 2 gig service. We're starting to see it in the industry pretty heavily. Our newer equipment that we're installing at these later substations that we're building out has the electronics capable of doing it. We just haven't gotten to the point where we're offering it, but we're probably close. I don't know if I would expect a lot of people to take that, so it's not a huge hurry to get out, but it may be available very soon if for some reason that you have that interest. The political arena, all is pretty quiet right now in the energy world. Representative Alexander is here. A representative from Lisa McLean's office is here. There's Phil. Good morning, Phil. He will be talking a little bit later, and I'll let them talk on some tax issues that Representative Alexander has gotten through, and Representative Green is working on some vegetation legislation that interests us. In past legislation that will affect us very soon, energy waste reduction, we will be required at the start of 2026 to re-participate that as a state mandate, and not just have the ability to do it on our own at what costs make sense for us, what programs make sense for us. So stay tuned. That I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's required. We have to do it. If you look at energy, every new refrigerator you buy, every new light bulb you buy, every new whatever it is you buy, right? So it's sort of market driven at this point. I don't know what we're going to be able to offer for rebates and other incentives to really push it any further. Some of the programs are such that, what did the general manager up at Cherryland say, that she would have to do 10,000 rebates a year to get her goal. They have 36,000 meters, so every 3 years you'd have to turn over your refrigerator, your whatever other appliances, your dishwasher, your stove. I guess stoves probably aren't in that, but it just seems like a pretty heavy handle to lift here. So stay tuned. And then again, legislation from, I believe, last year. It could be early this year. But the Michigan Energy Assistance Program was put in, and that was a little bit bipartisan, if I'm not mistaken. I'll let one of the representatives discuss that, but for a little different reasons. But it raises the low-income surcharge from 87 cents per meter, or per household really, or per business. If you have 2 meters, 3 meters, you don't get charged on all, just the one person fee. But that's going from 87 cents to $1.25. They've also adjusted the level of low income from, I believe, 150 to 200% of poverty level. So that's a little bit of a change. Washington's pretty quiet on the energy front. I mean, I think you see executive orders. The problem with executive orders is they get bantered apart between administrations. So really in the energy business, it's tough to make hard long-term decisions when that happens. So hopefully legislators can get together, we can get some smart energy legislation that actually has some meaning to it. One thing you'll see, or you're starting to see, if you haven't already, so as a part of that 15% renewable mandate, on our behalf, Wolverine filed in February, I believe it was, our plan to comply with that 15% mandate. The Public Service Commission recently had an order put out that we are required to notify members in the June Countryline magazine, I'll get back to that in a minute, and then notify all the municipalities in the area, townships, cities, villages, and all that. Well, we don't do a June Countrylines deal, ours is a May June. So we had to come up with another avenue of doing it. So you could see a TEC notification in your local newspaper that states that Bum Electric is looking at renewable, this, that, or the other thing. If you don't carefully read it, we are not, what I didn't want to see is people confuse that, oh, Thumb Electric's going to start putting in wind turbines and solar and all that. No, we are not doing that. It is simply a comment period. They want to, if people had a comment on our 15% renewable mandate, I think their intention was, if you didn't think it met that mandate or that sort of thing, you could write to the MPSC or call the MPSC and give your opinion. So that's all that it is. Don't confuse it with us doing any wind or solar. We are not. And so I just wanted to get that out there. A couple of final notes. ACRE, or America's Electric Cooperative PAC. We encourage our eligible employees and our members to participate. Donations help inform legislators in both Lansing and Washington on legislation that could affect cooperatives. 15% renewable is certainly one of those. The EWR is certainly one of those. You know, we just need to let our friends in Washington and Lansing know what our positions are, and this political action dollars does help to do with it. I sometimes the answer is no, like in some of this legislation, but we have to at least let them know so it's not for lack of trying. That's my political action speech for the day. Youth tour. We're sending one student to Washington, D.C. this summer. It's probably pretty quickly. Mr. Creston Rancour from Millington is going to be joining other students from the Michigan Electric Cooperatives. I believe it's 18 students and 21 people total with chaperones. So that is our representation. Always a very good program. If you have a high school aged child or grandson and you know your Thumb Electric members, encourage them to apply. Very good program that people like. We choose one or two each year if we get the applications, and we go from there. Also, along with the youth tour, we offer 3 scholarships to area students. This year, it's a $1,500 scholarship. Braden Franzel from the Ubley area was awarded. Blake Newton from Croslex area was awarded one. And Ethan Maurer, also from the Ubley area, were offered a scholarship. With that, I'll take any questions that you have and go from there. Yes, ma'am?
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
The first is, what is your mix? I know you're not going to build turbines, but what's your mix in terms of buying energy from, let's say, a nuclear power plant versus a turbine company versus coal power, which I think you relied on a number of years ago?
Right now, regionally, so the question is on our fuel mix and what that will be, what that is currently. Currently, it's a sort of a, actually currently it's a mix of what the Wolverine power system is. There's coal, there's solar, there's wind. Wolverine buys the output from the wind turbine projects. There's 2 of them in the Elkton area. They have gas generators assets up north in the area. I'm still a little bit unfamiliar. So right now it's a pretty good mix. As the output from Palisades Nuclear comes on, it will start gearing more and more towards that. With that, there's still peaking times. There's still other assets that we have available to us. There's other business decisions that could come in place at some point in time. We have a very, very good mix across all assets. So yes.
And they're all in Michigan and not coming from Canada, which was.
No, we buy nothing from Canada. Wolverine has some of our territory in the PJM market, in the PJM market. There's some coal assets. They're out of the Ohio. Yes, I'll let Eric explain that to him. So we do own some coal assets there. I believe that are scheduled for at some point a closure, but that's, I think, years away at this point. We do have some territory in Indiana also that borders on the PJM. So we have some market dealings there, just because that's a different market than MISO. So Michigan is mostly MISO, not 100% MISO. Mid-intercontinent system operator is what it's called. I believe the United States is broken down into 4 or 5 major areas of transmission and distribution connectivity. In the Minnesota area, there could be co-ops or utilities that do receive from the Canadian area. Because MISO does extend into Canada. I believe it's the Alberta, Manitoba type areas, just on the other side of the border of Minnesota in that area. There are areas in Michigan that do have interconnectivity with Ontario. I don't know if that actually is energy purchased by DTE or some other entity. I really don't know the answer to that, but there is some connectivity. My understanding is very, very little though, and if you're concerned about tariffs or any of that, Thumb Electric has no energy needs from Canada.
My second question has to do with your relationship to plow companies, plow service. We haven't had any crippling snows in recent years, but I know in Tuscola County they have this priority list, like 81 gets first dibs for clearing, and they rank higher than Deckerville Road, which ranks higher than Hurd's Corner. But if my power goes down off of my little dirt road, are you captive to the contracts that the county has with plow service?
We are not, but we have a very good relationship with all of our areas. It's happened in the past where we've had to make a phone call and said, hey, we've got a situation on road X. Is there any way that you can help us out, get us there a little quicker? And in most cases, if they're able to, they will help us out. So does that answer your question? Other than that, we don't have any decision-making authority with them, but they are friends of ours, and we work with them, as closely as we can.
And you don't have any priority contracts independently?
No, not at all. Maybe we could try though. Any other questions? Yes.
It may have been discussed, but what's the holdup with Palisades?
It's really just planned. They have planned right along to have it on in the fall of 2025. And it's just regulatory hurdles, kind of now. Any of the infrastructure that's needed to be changed, I believe they rebuilt the turbine, they've done some other things. A lot of that's right on track. And from what I hear right now, is if there's any delay to this fall, it's a matter of days, not weeks or months. So it is right on track. So, yep. that here first. I'll get to you next.
You mentioned about our legislation and something that wisdom saying we have to go all clean renewable energy by 2035. Now we know that like solar panels, there are problems with taking out farmland, toxic chemicals if they break, because hailstorm can wipe out the whole solar farm. But aside from that, and the fact that it's only good for so many hours a day for producing, windmills, we're dependent upon the weather and the wind to do that. How are we going to balance out the power usage between demand and supply by that time?
Have really smart, good people on your side that are doing that for you. It's a good question. That's why Palisades was so intriguing. Wolverine didn't just come with Palisades. Wolverine would have figured it out, whether that was with wind, solar, and other technologies. But Palisades was really a game breaker in our mind. But again, it was much more than that. What DTE and what consumers and the big players in the state for investor loans are going to do, they're going to comply with state law and hold on, because it could get very expensive on that side of the street. And I'm only speculating. If you want Brad Essenmaker, the person's opinion on between wind and solar, I would be much more of a proponent of wind because of the output, the reliability, I believe they're approaching 60 to 70% efficiency, which means 60 to 70% of the time that's producing to nameplate capacity. I don't know if they've hit 20% yet on solar. They may have, but it seems like an awful expensive proposition to go that route. But again, that is my opinion and my opinion only.
What percentage of the Palisades will that supply us with electricity? Is it half of the electricity we need?
I believe it's 51 or 52% of the needs of a little more than that, Eric. So a little more than over 50% of all the cooperatives in the state, and that's not just the 6 member-owned cooperatives. Octagon buys energy from, so Octagon Power Cooperative or Distribution Cooperative. Is supplied energy through Wolverine. It meets their needs too. The other portion of it, we have an agreement with another power cooperative in Indiana, Hoosier Energy. And over the years, they don't have the renewable mandates that we do. So if we need more and they don't, we could probably work out some sort of an arrangement to up that capacity if needed. So.
Sounds like a good percentage,
Yes, yeah.
We're getting 0 from them today?
Right, correct, right. They're experiencing what the term you've never heard is burn rate. So they're spending money rapidly and not getting anything for it. So they are committed to getting this on schedule. Anyone else? If you think of something later, just let me know and pull me aside if you can find me, and I'd be glad to answer it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Brad. As Brad shared, we are now members. We get our energy now from Wolverine Power. And we have the privilege today of having Eric Baker, who is the CEO and president of Wolverine, here to speak. Starting January 1st of this year, we began receiving our power from Wolverine. And I think the other cool thing is we have 2 seats at the board, so we have a say in what Wolverine does. So, Eric?
Good morning. Good morning. It's a real privilege for me to be here. I've had a long association with Thumb, but to have Thumb as a member is incredibly rewarding for me. Personally, it's also really important for our company, and I look forward to providing you service. Wolverine is a cooperative just like Thumb Electric. just like you own Thumb Electric, now Thumb Electric is one of the owners of Wolverine. So our job is to provide power and to transmit it to rural substations. That's a really old-fashioned and really simple mission that takes a lot of different expertises to pull off, from accounting to engineering to power plant operators to regulatory personnel and attorneys. It's a complicated business that's getting more complicated every year. Wolverine has been around for about 75 years, and I'm somewhat proud and somewhat amazed to recognize this morning that I have now worked for Wolverine over half of its lifetime. Careers that are often turned over every 2 to 3 to 4 years. I started working in the mid-1980s for Wolverine as an engineering intern, and I never found the exit door. And I've been now the president and CEO for almost 20 of those years. So I'm thrilled to be here. It's been a great career. It's been a very interesting career that's gone down paths that I could never have imagined as just a poor engineering kid growing up in northern Michigan. So I love this state, and I really love our mission as cooperative. So what's on our landscape? First of all, it's a very turbulent time in the energy space. We've been on this path for almost 20 years where there's been no growth in electricity. And there's two things that are happening in Michigan that we are paying very close attention to. One is the Michigan Energy Law that was passed in 2023 that has a number of challenges that come with it for us. And that is official mandates that have to pass a two-part test. One is it has to be deemed as clean, which is loosely defined as carbon-free. But then there's also another that's a renewable mandate. And so just because you can comply one way doesn't mean you can comply both ways, and so you have this two-part test. It is going to be extraordinarily difficult to survive or to pass that test long-term, as it's written today, in my opinion. And so we're thrilled that we have a path at least into the next 5 to 10, probably 15 years of compliance, particularly with Palisades coming online. And so that's going to be a very difficult challenge to me. The other thing that's happening in the United States in general and in Michigan is, for the first time in almost 20 years, where electric demands have been absolutely flat and to some degree declining, they're starting to go up. Electric consumption is increasing, there's more electronics, there's more chargeable devices, and not just electric vehicles, but look in your garage and in your tool shop how many battery-powered tools we have, and all that requires electricity to charge, and so those demands have been going up. But the real changer is in data and AI. And the electric consumption associated with those two things alone is mind-boggling. To put it in perspective, in the state of Virginia alone, there is more need for new data centers than the entire electric demand in the state of Michigan. So when it takes now 10 years to build a new power plant that might be 500 megawatts, in Virginia alone they need 20,000 megawatts. So think of that. One of the largest coal plants in the United States is downriver Detroit and Monroe. It's 3,000 megawatts. Imagine needing to build 7 Monroe power plants to power the energy consumption, and that is just in Virginia alone. And this demand is happening across the entire United States, and it's not now just an issue of convenience like the gee whiz bang data that is on all these phones and all our data streaming services and all the fun that we get with that. There's going to be more of that, no question about it. But now it's becoming an issue of national security. And how we mobilize around that is going to be very interesting. For the first time in a long time, this administration has used effectively War Powers Act authorities or legacies of that to tell Consumers Energy that they can't retire the Campbell coal plant as scheduled last month. And so Consumers is scrambling quite literally to figure out not only how do you increase or reestablish a coal supply chain, or do we have enough coal on site to get through the summer, but more complicated is the labor situation. A lot of retirements have been planned, job transfers have been planned, and these are not just jobs you can just spin up. And so it will be really interesting to see how Consumers faces that challenge. And we have a direct ownership in that power plant, a very tiny ownership, but an ownership nonetheless. And so we're very interested to see how that plays out. Last week another announcement was made, a similar announcement was made in Pennsylvania. And so where does this all shake out? Because a number of the coal plants in Michigan are still set to retire. And at a time when electric demand is going up, traditional sources are going down. And they're being replaced by wind and solar predominantly. And so it's unsettling. A gentleman in the back asked a question about how we're going to balance that. I'm going to give you a very detailed discussion and analysis of that from an engineer's, a career planning engineer. And the answer is, I have no idea. So there's discussion of a lot of technologies and batteries that candidly do not exist today. And it's really unsettling. And it's frustrating for somebody with my background that I have literally spent my entire career in utility planning, transmission planning, to generation planning, power contract negotiation, power plant construction, and so that's really quite frustrating to watch. So what does Wolverine bring, Thumb? You clearly bring us additional sales, additional footprint, additional political strength in the Wolverine family, because now we serve in over 2/3 of Michigan's counties. Actually close to 70% of Michigan's counties. Wolverine has, or its member owners, have service in a wide political reach, much bigger political reach than our financial size is. But what we do bring you is you have now a share of our $1 billion, actually $1.1 billion balance sheet, soon to be almost 1,300 megawatts of generation. That's something in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 times the size of Thumb Electric alone. Access to the renewables that we've already acquired for our members, and access to a peaking power plant fleet that is, year to year over the last decade, been the most reliable fleet in the Midwest. And because it's more reliable than the Midwest averages, that means more money for Wolverine that all other states pay, and that money creates value for Wolverine and its members, either through profits that you get your share of, just like patronage, or by direct energy cost savings. Because a lot of times when we run our power plants, it just goes immediately back. It does not affect Wolverine's margins. It goes just immediately back to power cost reduction. Wolverine is trying to build one or two larger solar projects. And it's not because of renewables, it's partly that, but because solar actually, from a business standpoint, a small slice of it does make sense in a portfolio from a traditional planning perspective. It's good in the summer when prices tend to be high. It gives us good daytime exposure when prices tend to be high and volatility, at least historically, has been high. And so it fits nicely in our portfolio, a little bit. In my opinion, solar's a little bit like garlic when you're cooking. A little bit makes it interesting and better, a lot, maybe not so much. So hopefully we don't have too much that we can't manage it. Palisades is an enormous story that I'm really proud of, and it's an incredibly exciting time. I will say that deal cannot get done without a board that I have at Wolverine. I'm privileged to have some incredible board members that not only come from agricultural roots, but also different business perspectives, and we have incredibly robust discussion, debate, and we spend every single meeting discussing strategic issues, and it's really fun. But they give us a lot of latitude to go chase after things, and that means the latitude to occasionally fail, to try things that don't work out. We discuss what the risks are, we discuss how much it's going to cost if we do fail, and then they give us the opportunity to go out and run hard. And because of that, we were able to get first in line and land the contract with Palisades. Now what's happening is that data centers would come in and they would pay a large amount more than Wolverine is paying to get access to that plant. And I think this creates a 30-plus year forward path to Wolverine and its members that I think will pay off immense dividends over the long haul. So now we have peaking assets, we have renewable assets, and now we're going to have an energy asset in Palisades that we are the majority off-taker on for the next 30 years. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the privilege of serving you. And I can assure you, despite my white hair, I'm thrilled to work. I still have a lot of laps left in me, and this is the greatest privilege that I could imagine. So thank you for this.
Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate you being here today. We have a couple of motions to approve. The motion to approve the treasurer's report. We have a motion? Motion? Support? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the president's report. Do we have motion? Support? All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And lastly, the motion to approve general manager's report. For a motion? Support? Motion and support. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This time I'd like to turn things over to Kyle, our attorney, as he facilitates the in-person voting.
No applause for the lawyer? Good morning. My name is Kyle O'Mara. I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the attorney for the cooperative. Pursuant to the TEC bylaws, it is also my responsibility to administer the elections at each year's annual meeting. I'm sure many of you are wondering why we are holding an election when, as I'll explain in a moment, there are no contested races this year. This is because it's required by the governing legal documents of the code. Our bylaws say that although voting via electronic or mail-in ballots is permissible, those of you that attend the meeting in person are also entitled to vote. As you may recall, last year's annual meeting saw the implementation of a bylaw amendment that changed how candidates are nominated for director elections. Rather than a nominating committee, which was appointed by the board, seeking out and selecting candidates, any qualified and interested member may now seek a director's seat by filing a nominating petition. This year, nominating petitions were submitted by the following. For Huron County District 1, the incumbent, Randy Dice. For San Luis County District 1, the incumbent, Kim Nunn. But for Tuscola County District 1, the incumbent, Louis Wenslow. No challengers submitted nominating petitions to appear on the ballot. The 3 director positions are the only matters appearing on this year's ballot, as there are no proposed bylaw amendments or other questions requiring a vote of membership. In a moment, you'll get an opportunity to hear from those 3 candidates, even though, again, there were no other members that submitted nominating petitions this year. The board decided that you all should have the opportunity to hear from your directors. Each of the nominees will have a maximum of 5 minutes to address the meeting. At the end of those presentations, those of you which have not yet voted will be able to do so. Your ballots will be collected by our volunteer election tellers to be counted. So for our first presentation, we'll start with Mr. Randy Dice from Huron County District 1. worked through it. Now as I look back, it's been 26 years, I get my monthly information and different issues come to you and I think, my God, this is complicated. It's the complexities and the speed at which issues come before us just keeps increasing. It can be a little bit overwhelming. Everybody experiences changes. We're not going to alleviate that. But many things stay the same also. Last night I went and watched baseball games, only my grandkids were playing, not my kids, which was actually much more relaxing. On the way here this morning, I passed several horses and buggies on M53, which I understand Mr. Alexander is going to try and solve that situation. But that's life, and that's the way it's always going to be. We've always been very fortunate to have extremely good support from our members at Thumb Electric. And no matter how many things change, our primary goal is to provide a safe, reliable source of electricity, along with now broadband is becoming a very big part of it. I hope you continue to earn your support, and that's definitely going to be our goal. Thank you very much. Thank you, Randy. Next, we'll move on to Mr. Kim Dung from San Luis County District 1.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Kim Nunn. I live in the Roswell, Lexington area. I'm District 1 of San Luis County. I've been a TEC member since 1978. Been on the board since 1987. Currently, I'm the Vice President of Thumb Electric, and I'm President of TESC, Thumb Electric Service Corporation. Just recently, I was nominated to the Wolverine Power Board as a director, and working with Derek has been a pleasure. Whatever Thumb Electric does, Wolverine's 10 times that in numbers, in power, in profits, and it's just an eye-opening experience. All the years I've been on Thumb Electric, I thought that's been pretty cool, but working with Wolverine and what they got to offer, we're elated. Finally, we got a co-op supplier that's going to be reliable, and someone we can work with, and if we have questions, they can answer it for us. When you buy from an IOU like we have over all these years, we were at their mercy. They could raise prices whenever they wanted to, and like I said, our previous supplier said we can only supply you 45% of your power. So how does that work? You know. So that was part of the reason we left that, and then working with Wolverine Power and with the Palisades and what they had to offer was nothing but good for Thumb Electric, and definitely going to be a positive thing. Part of my thing I've always said, I want to make sure we got an adequate supply of electricity. Has always been one of my things that we don't have enough power to keep the lights on. What do we got? Now working with Wolverine, I have no question that we're going to be good for years to come. The other big thing that we've done is got in the fiber business. When we first talked about it, I was 100% against it, didn't want it, it was too expensive, it was going to cost the co-op too much money. But one of the things as a duty as a director is to improve rural living. And by providing fiber in the country, which no one else would come out and do, we decided that we could do that. With some grants and some money that we got from the government, we've been able to do that. And so we've had to buckle down, and it's been a tight couple, 2 or 3 years. But with all of you picking the fiber that want it and need it, it's going to be definitely something that'll be a positive for the co-op. So we really look forward to, of course, San Luis County, where I live, we're the last ones to get it. So you think directors have privileges? No. So hopefully in July they'll come down so I've had to answer a lot of questions to people in my area that, how come we haven't got fiber yet? I said, be patient, it's coming. So again, I want to thank you. Again, one of the things we've got to do is keep the lights on. It doesn't do, we can talk and do all the things we want, but if we don't keep the lights on, when you go to that switch and to turn it on, we got to have power for you. And I think we're well adversed at doing that now. So thank you very much. And I thank you for voting me over all these years. This is the first year in 38 years I haven't had anyone running against me, so it's been a little easier. And I thank you, and we'll keep working for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Finally, we'll hear from the Tuscola County District 1 Director, Mr. William Onslaught.
I'm certainly not the new kid on the block. I've been on the board for 48 years. It's been wonderful. Working relationship, I'll tell you, the whole co-op depends on the employees. If we don't have good employees, things aren't going to be good. When I first got on the board, first of all, we had trouble with the general manager. He wasn't a people person. Employees didn't want to work for him. It was a mess. We got that straightened around. The next 3 general managers we hired have been local people. Things have been wonderful. So, I live in the Kingston area with my wife Sharon. I've been a member of Thumb Electric since '59. I don't know if you people looked at your country lines, but there was an article on me back last year, told about my childhood, how I was brought up with no electricity. Things have just been great. So I think I contributed to the board yet. If I don't, they can tell me and I'll get off. Try to keep them straight, especially on the financial things. Got a business background, so I'll tell you, this is the most rounded board that you can imagine. We got farmers, we got pharmacists, we got an ag salesperson. I have business experience. It's not just farmers or one thing. It's a well-rounded board, and they're all great participation. Nobody micromanages. It's just been wonderful. Thanks for your support. Hopefully I'll make it 3 years.
So now is the time, for those of you who have not already done so, go ahead and cast your votes. While you're doing that, I would ask the individuals who volunteer to serve as election tellers to come up to the stage. I will administer them an oath, and they will shortly collect your paper ballots. Thank you for your attention and for your participation. At this time, I'll turn the meeting back over to President Finn. Thank you.
Okay, so a couple of things we'll take care of quick. One of the things, my wife and daughter are here. I want to thank them. There's a lot of times I get called away for calls or meetings, this and that. So, Sierra, do you want to stand up? No? All right. The other thing is, it's pretty cool that we get to have this event here at the Octagon Barn, kind of a staple of the Thumb. And Rose Putnam with the Octagon Barn has always given a few words and talks about some upcoming events. So Rose, I'll give you a few minutes.
Well, thank you for TEC for coming out and having your annual meeting here. We'd love to have all of you here. Really appreciate the support that we get. And it's a pleasure to be back on as president of the Octagon Bar. We've got some exciting things going on. Didn't happen to notice the new building, did you? With the parking? Yeah. Okay, what that is, it's a 40 by 100 foot building that is going to be displaying our equipment. We have been moving it from building to building. In the wintertime, some get stored, some doesn't. We're all getting older, it's harder to do. And we feel that many of the pieces that we have need to be protected now from the weather. So we're going to have that set up soon. You may not see it full all the time because we do use our equipment. Even though it may be an older model or something, it's still being used. And the next important thing along the ditch line where we have our schoolhouse and museum is going to be a new general store. So with the help and support of Connie Ostentoski, Marty's wife, she's been the proponent, and we're really excited about adding that new building, along with everything else that we're doing. And I'm anxious to see in person the new, well, I know you do it otherwise for educational opportunities, but the new hotline. I was going to say hotline. So thank you for doing that. I have to put a little quick plug in for the Thumb Quilt Trail too. We now have 132 barns with quilts on them in the Thumb region. It's all just going here in the Sanilac. And when you go to the barn door, if you look right to your west on Arnie Carr's barn, he's got a pheasant flock that was specially made last year. So please, vacation guide, I just read the Bible this morning, and there's lots of things to do here in the Thumb, and we're glad to hear that. We had a couple here from Kalamazoo on Saturday, and they'd never been in the Thumb before. They had no idea what was here, and we're excited to see that there was much to do. So anyone involved in other activities, we would certainly appreciate that. And of course, we need to have you come up all family days because the money that we generate supports our 26 acres, the electric, the heat in the winter time, and especially the gasoline to mow everything, and the new mower we had to buy this year. So we thank you again for all your support. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rose. Is there any unfinished business to bring before the board? No? Is there any new business to bring before the board? All right, hearing none, I will turn things over to John Cran, who is the new MECA CEO.
Thank you, President Finley. My name is John Cran, and I'm the new CEO of Michigan Electric Cooperative Association, your statewide association representing Thumb Electric Cooperative and many other cooperatives around the state of Michigan. We do our best when we work together, and MECA provides that opportunity for cooperatives to work together on a variety of efforts. One, when there's a major storm outage, we have the ability to bring linemen together from other cooperatives for a mutual aid program. We provide safety and training opportunities for our board of directors and our staff. We also work in tandem with our cooperatives on the Country Lines magazine that you see. And on top of that, we have the privilege of representing the industry's needs in Washington and in Lansing with policy, with regulatory items, and we have a chance today to hear from a number of our elected officials, our partners in Lansing and Washington that are here today. That are going to spend a couple minutes talking about what they're working on collectively. And the first person I'd like to bring up is Representative Greg Alexander. Representative Alexander serves on Transportation Infrastructure Committee in addition to the Agriculture Committee, and it's an honor to have him here today.
Good morning, welcome to the Thumb Octagon Barn. This is one of my favorite places in the whole Thumb. I've been active with these guys for about 25 years. Back when Bob Hearn was the chairman for a long time, and then Denny, and now Rose again. You're a repeat offender, by the way. Like he mentioned, I'm vice chair of the Transportation Committee on Agriculture, Finance, and Election Integrity. This is much different on these policy committees than I was last year on the Appropriations Committee. And Phil will be able to talk to the DHHS budget, but right now that's top priority in Lansing. The state budget is the focus on everything that's going on right now. Of course, it's 40% greater than it was when Congressman Whitmer took office. So I'm not 100% sure what other industry's making 40% more than they were 7 years ago. But that's what we're looking at. It's typically signed by July 1st. I'm not expecting that to happen this year, but we are going to absolutely focus on education, and we're trying to cut wasteful spending, of course. The roads plan is something that we kind of agree upon. We've heard that we're going to fix the damn roads for long enough that we want to put something in effect. The House has agreed to a $3 billion budget for roads, which the last two sessions or 2 years there were no new dollars for roads. The governor is in agreement with that. The Senate Democrats are in agreement with that. How we get there is where we disagree. We believe that we can cut a lot of wasteful spending and stay within our budget without new taxes to get that $3 billion. And the Senate Democrats will leave that open, and they're planning on raising taxes. We did recognize that they raised taxes, income taxes, last session. We're committed to reducing that back down to 4.05 from where it's currently at 4.25. Our plan we crafted cuts $500 million from projected revenue surplus, $1.1 billion from eliminating the corporate welfare, $600 million for pork barrel spending that was a lot of battery plants in Marshall and Goshen and GM. $945 million by returning the existing gas tax to fix the roads. Currently, half of the money that's collected in taxes for gas goes to education. We expect it to be revenue neutral. We don't want to cut the education by any means. We're just going to use the first $700 million from the income tax to go directly to schools, so that's going to remain the same. Actually, it's going to be increased with the reduction of executive committee as far as Department of Transportation. That's a federal issue, but McLean's office can talk about that. The Senate Democrat-led version was given to us on the 16th of last month. Coincidentally, that was before the revenue estimating conference happened, so they overspent by $800 million. So we sent it back to them to, cut through it a little bit more. The House budget includes the rollback, like I mentioned, on the income tax. We're prioritizing the school aid fund and local government because July 1st, they start their new budget. We want to make sure that they have a good idea how to go forward. The school aid fund was maybe announced earlier on this year. What we did, we recognized that they intend to shut down the government. So we've already pre-funded all veterans, all schools, all public safety is already funded. So we're now discussing and arbitrary over the small line items to get to that bottom line. But we don't anticipate a government shutdown. Actually, we tried to pre-fund it so that would not happen. We don't want that to be used as leverage, like it typically is, for finalization of the budget. Of course, this property, around all this property is DNR owned. Actually, no. We own the property as taxpayers. DNR manages, or sometimes mismanages, the property according to how they see fit. It was mentioned that I am working on trying to get some of the area opened up to allow the Amish to go across it so they don't have to be hit on the state highway. You all heard on the radio that I did go for an Amish buggy ride. It was pretty uneventful, but coincidentally, there was another Amish buggy that was hit and run in Croswell on M90 at the same time. And boy, did my home blow up. Everybody thought I got hit on an Amish buggy, and it didn't happen. So thankfully I am safe. The DNR, in the Senate version of the budget, the DNR has proposed an increase of $10 per licensed vehicle, every vehicle on the roadway for the state parks. And the House side, that's not likely to happen. Also $5 on every motorcycle was going to be added to the registration fees for the state parks. And I don't think too many people haul their boat into the harbor on a motorcycle. But, you know, I'm convinced that's going to be dead on arrival. I am kind of excited about discussion about Palisades. Nuclear is a viable option that we've been fearful of ever since the 1970s. But technology's come a long way. My wife and I are Blue Star parents. Our son served on the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is a nuclear aircraft carrier. And when he was in the military, they refueled and refurbished that nuclear aircraft carrier. It was an amazing process. They stripped it down entirely and they added all the new technology like Wi-Fi and internet that we never had 40 years ago. But it's the first time in 40 years that nuclear machine had been refueled and refurbished. I tell you, I want one John Deere tractor that goes 40 years between fueling. That's pretty darn amazing. It really is. So the important thing to recognize on that, while it is clean energy, it's not renewable, but it's clean energy, it's something that we control. We don't have control over the wind. And when I'm deer hunting, I recognize that the wind stops every night about dusk. When everybody gets home from work and they want to do the laundry and use the electricity and milk the cows and all those things. So the time frame we need is important that we have a control handle on it. Same thing about solar. We don't know if the sun's going to shine or if we're going to be facing Canadian smog or smoke. So, you know, Palisades is a big deal. It's important that we've been sending a lot of nuclear over the bridge into Canada for a number of years. Let's hold on to it ourselves. I am going to continue having office hours. I have office hours every month, same time, same place. I'm in Bad Axe Airport on the last Friday of the month at 9 a.m. Sandusky Airport, last Friday of the month at 11 a.m. And Marlette Airport on the last Monday of the month at 9 a.m. I do fill in some additional ones periodically. I had one recently in Cass City, and I'm going to have one here coming up this month in Harbor Beach. And those ones are evening type. Usually I do them during the daytime. A lot of people can and cannot make daytime meetings. So I have evening meetings periodically in different areas. But I am committed and I will continue to have those 3 every month. If you want to talk to me, if you have any questions, if you want to come see what's going on in Lansing, come on out. It's free and it's available for everybody. Are there any questions for me? All right. Thank you much.
Thank you, Representative Alexander. Next, I have the privilege of introducing Representative Bill Green. And as he's coming up, Representative Green has been working diligently for us in Lansing, and this week had a bill before committee that we had some interest in. I'm sure he'll tell you more about that. But let's give him a warm welcome.
You notice more people clap for the politician than the lawyer, just saying. So my first 4 years in the legislature, I represented all of Tuscola, all of Huron County. And then when redistricting happened, I only represent one township now in Tuscola County, and I go down into Lapeer and Genesee County. And so I would highly doubt that I represent anybody in this tent this morning. So if you live down near Fostoria, I would represent you. Okay, there we go. We've got two, we're at 3 of us. So the question then is, why do I come up here still? And the answer is because I'm a member of Thumb Electric. And very proud of that, very happy for that, and very excited to begin working continue working in this arena. On the state level, I'm on the Appropriations Committee, so we're working on an $83 billion budget. On the national level, I serve as chair of the Energy, Environment, Ag Task Force inside a legislative group called ALEC. And so we work on many large things. We talked about Wolverine Power. I work with the Nuclear Energy Institute, which is sort of the national organization that Wolverine would, Palisades would belong to, and working on policy there. I wanted to give you a little bit of maybe pulling the curtain back on things in Lansing, things in DC, things that you think are the easiest things in the world, just like the duh bills, and how they don't always become just duh. It's like, wow, that person opposes it, this group opposes it. So the question becomes is, why did Palisades close down? Talked a little bit about the nuclear in the 1970s, the fallout from 3 Mile Island, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then there was a large contingency of people who wanted to pull nuclear out because of the fear. And then you have the environmental groups that have their own little deals. So interesting to note, Palisades is the first time ever a nuclear power plant has been restarted in history. And if you were to start a new nuclear power plant, is it 25 years? If we started today, by the time you got through the regulation, it would be 25 years before we receive power from that. And so many times groups put into different legislative bills. They also work inside the department to get different requirements put in that increases time to 25 years to get your permits and get things built. So it is exciting. Number one, we've done a lot of work on the national level to get the permits to allow Palisades to open up. And this is really historical. The first time in the history that we've restarted a nuclear power plant. But then we had to stop this last 2 years ago, and we know the push for renewable energy, the push for green energy, and we go, okay, we can do some, we can understand maybe some of this, but then the devil in the details. What is considered new? Or what is considered renewable? What is considered clean? And so we had to, not only were I don't want to sound too political here. I don't know how not to. Not only were the environmentalist wackos, those are technical terms maybe, not only were they pushing a certain agenda, but against coal, and maybe we can understand looking at some different former issues with coal, but they'd also wanted to eliminate natural gas. And so you begin looking at the power generated through natural gas, and it's like, okay, wait a second, and we can come back and talk technicalities. I was at a biomass facility in my district down near Flint, where they burn all of the refuse and turn it into electricity, okay? They monitor the air coming in, they burn everything, then they monitor through the filters the air going out. The air going in was dirtier than the air going out, but somehow that wasn't considered clean. And so we had to fight these different little battles that are really major, major battles of getting the legislation. Secondly, I wanted to talk about data centers. Data centers is a newfangled deal. The environmentalist left is adamantly opposed to data centers because data centers need power that is consistent. Nuclear energy, the coal power plants is consistent. So they are opposed to data centers because data centers are consistent. What do data centers do? They're huge buildings that have servers that store everything. They store your medical records, okay? They store anything you access, your bank records, Apple Maps, anything that you access in real time, these data centers deal with it. Amazon, Amazon.com, all of that stuff. So when you look back over history, people would say this: in the 1700s, cities were built up as ports on great bodies of water. In the 1800s, it was, you still had shipping. You get into the 1900s, and it was built around the interstate system. That's where communities grew up. In the 2000s, or and then in the late 1900s, it was, where's the airports? Now moving forward in the next future, the question is where is the digital data? That's very important. Digital data then feeds these data centers, but it's also the fiber that is being run by these gentlemen. It's like a highway. And so over the next several years, the middle mile, the highways, are going to be being connected between Flint and Port Huron. And they're running fiber that is like wires that big around, so that Thumb Electric can connect onto that and provide data to us. So that is a huge, Peninsula Fiber Network is another one of those. So the fiber build out. And then lastly, talking a little bit about the tree trimming bill that Mecca and Mazur, Kevin, is Kevin here? Kevin was able, we were able to bring Kevin in to testify in the legislature. Again, a bill, but you're like, why do we even have to have this bill? Apparently there is a law that says you have a tree, it needs to be trimmed. Once it gets the height of a power line, then the branches can go over the top of the power line. Because, nobody wants to hurt a tree. John Denver, hug a tree for your tomorrow. I'm sorry, that was plant a tree. But I love trees, don't get me wrong, but I also like flipping a switch so that I have power. And so when previous to Brad, Dallas and I were talking, what's the major issue? What's going on in the Thumb? Why is our power going out? Emerald ash borer, pine blight, oak wilt, the branches are up above, the trees are on the side, they crash down, they take out our infrastructure. So we began a bill about 3 years ago, and just now we had our first hearing on it. It should be coming out of the Energy Committee, that would allow the tree trimmers to go straight from the ground all the way to the sky, so that we don't have dead branches hanging over top of our power lines, taking it out. This was especially evident the last couple, I guess maybe about 5 months ago up in Gaylord, in northern Michigan, with the ice storm just completely obliterated our grid up there. So every day I look forward to going into Lansing. I see the Capitol all lit up many times on the way, and not so much now. And I hear in the back of my mind the theme song to Rocky, as we're going into battle. And then about 8 o'clock, getting into my car coming home, the best sight in the world is looking in my mirror and seeing the Capitol in my mirror, knowing I'm going home, and then getting ready for the battle. Because it's crazy the things that we should be we're taking care of people, that we have to fight over because people are looking at it. I guess that's a good thing. We're looking at it from different directions, but we're looking forward to solidifying our electric grid. We're looking forward to our power generation, and then making sure that the transmission lines stay up on the pole, or when they need to be redone, get thrown in the ground for much more security at that point. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for allowing Thumb Electric to serve us, and that's pretty cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Green. Our last guest is Mohammed Smitty. Mohammed is a staff member for Congresswoman Lisa McClain, who represents the Thumb in Congress. Congresswoman McLean is in a very unique position to represent us in Washington. She is the 4th highest ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. Mohammed, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, for having me this morning, to all of you. I'll be super brief. I know we have lunch coming up, and also you all have TV and news, so I really don't think I'd be giving you much of an update. But obviously the name of the game right now in Washington is the budget reconciliation bill. If I hear about it one more time, there's someone complaining about it. I'm front lines on the phones in the office too. So obviously the House passed on the 22nd of May, the $1.6 trillion in tax cuts, but still keeping military and border security funding provisions, tax relief, support for small businesses. Tax relief includes no tax on tips, overtime, car loans, with enhanced deduction for seniors as well, Social Security. Child tax credits will be increased. In terms of regulatory reforms, that being EPA rules that are ridiculous. You probably have heard about the EV mandates. We know who that ticked off. And then also making sure that, as it moves over to the Senate side, that, it can be quickly considered without major changes, because with our slim majority in the House, just getting it across the finish line as is was, a feat, definitely. Compromises to secure the package. GOP leaders boosted the state and local tax deductions to $40,000 for incomes up to $500,000, and accelerated Medicaid work requirements. Cole, who's usually up here, our field rep and the thumb and ag legislative assistant, wanted me to make this literally very bold on my thing. Cuts made in the reconciliation bill are primarily to the SNAP side, mostly closing loopholes in the SNAP work requirement waivers that states could file. No cuts to crop insurance or current farm programs. And then, finally, just the extending the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that were set to expire in 2028. The estate tax exemption, border security funding, spending cuts, SNAP reforms, work requirements, and then also it terminates the IRA energy tax credits by 2028, while also boosting domestic energy production. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully, I know that in the House they were really optimistic about getting the big, beautiful bill passed by the 4th of July, so we'll see. I don't know if that's too optimistic or not, but always feel free to reach out to our office. Like I said, I'm a friendly face on the phone. I like to think so, and we always answer phones. So feel free to do so, and I'll stick around too if you run into me. So thank you for having me, Thumb Electric. It's a pleasure. I hope to see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, Mohammed. Before I turn the floor back over to President Finley, I'd just like to say it's an honor and privilege to serve you in this capacity. Thank you for taking time to be part of your cooperative family and doing your duty as a member to be here today to participate in the vote. And we appreciate that. Thank you, and hope to meet you in person. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do have our election results in. In addition to the votes gathered in person today, there were 380 ballots cast through online and mail-in voting, up from 362 last year. So we do still have a lot of participation. We're trending upwards as far as participation in advance of the meeting. But I have certified the results of the election, and no surprise, each of the incumbents has retained his seat. Congratulations. So now the reason why many of you are here, it's almost lunchtime, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Any support?
Yes.
I have a motion and support to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.